So, um, so you all are getting those organized on that front. The advocates, right, to look over the 209A. So on that front,
That's correct.
you don't need to speak now, David. Let's see. Life has occupied you. No, Cat. Now is not the time. No. The the I think if you could describe a bit more in detail what the various paths could be for working with the advocates, it would be more helpful to Chris. Because if he's trying to plan, okay, how can I, plan getting information on this?
Oh,
you
Michelle,
just-
you've muted
Oh,
yourself.
you muted.
I think he needs to know, it would help to know a few more specifics about
Yeah, I don't
what
think we
what's
have.
being planned.
I don't think we have
Are
a
you gonna
great
email
deal.
it to them? Are you gonna
No, so I think what's going to happen
like,
is
what's happening, right?
we're going to talk with looks like maybe 3 or 4 different advocacy groups. They're usually structured, and Kate actually can probably speak for this better, especially with the high risk teams. It'll be advocates who will be dealing with people who are in crisis and helping them to deal with that as it presents. So this would probably be part of what they do with them. So hopefully they would be helping them to create what's often called a safe plan, to figure out, what they're going to do with it. And this would be one of the components. Would be filing something.
I'm gonna pause you for just a second, David. You're saying a lot of really good things, and I'm gonna remember none of them. And the person that I actually want to hear this is Chris.
Well, it's recorded, right?
It is recorded.
Oh, okay.
And
so
we-
he can sit through the meeting. All right.
Yeah, we can
give him this
also.
video.
This is also useful for me to
Oh, okay.
distill, and then maybe we can then reformat into.
Okay, perfect.
And then also, it's probably useful to have some of Kate's thoughts, because we haven't had to meet with them yet. But what I suspect will happen is that we'll say, here's this tool. We're releasing it to you as a private beta, which means don't share it with people outside of your staff. But your staff is free to use this to produce forms. In return, we would like you to tell us what's wrong with it. Now, to the extent that we have some mechanism that this is, I assume what Chris would be thinking about, that we would want to then direct them towards to be able to tell us what they think about it. That's an open question. But really, it's at this point, it's just, here's a tool your advocates can use for themselves when dealing with people. We want to know what's wrong with it and what would need to be there before you would feel that it was a safe thing to share with a wider audience. That's the general frame.
Okay. I think eliciting some of, and I'll try and get him on the horn, is that the expression, today, and see if he has any thoughts on, like, if anything needs to, not if anything needs to change about that, but if there is something further we can do to help it be effective, right? Like, and try and get that, and try and get him on that before it's time to send it out, so that we can do it in an organized way, not a lot of back and forth with the with the advocates.
Yeah, if there was
like that.
If there was a structured way that would make sense for us to collect information, that would be great. We can also, of course, in the very least, direct them to use the bug reporting link at the bottom if they find bugs. I have a feeling, though, it'll be much more like a standard, user experience interview, and that what'll probably be most helpful, I don't know, I could be wrong, maybe there's some good structured way to do this, is that after they use it for a while, we then get them all on a call, or get some of them on a call and ask them about it. I mean, ideally, I guess if we had capacity, what we'd want to do is we'd want to have some folks sit down and try to use it and look over their shoulder and have them narrate while they were doing.
So Chris might be able to do some of that, and maybe Anne, if we can get hold of her. I'm not sure if.
So that would be great. So, if we had that capacity, that would be great. So then Kate and our meeting later in the week could be, here's the tool. You can start using it, but we'd like to engage maybe sometime before that, and people could do a walkthrough. So we'll probably do a walkthrough for them when we talk of whatever state we're at with the tool.
Maybe Chris can be there for that. Maybe we can arrange it when he's available.
Maybe we can try to get off. That's going to be tough, because we're going to also try to arrange it so that all the the advocacy groups can be on at the same time. So
He
it
might
might
have a
make
flexible
sense.
schedule.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So wait,
So-
is there anything already scheduled that?
No, nothing scheduled.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I had missed something I was supposed to.
That is why
Have in
I
my calendar.
emailed you.
Like, I
Okay,
think
about
he'll be.
Northeastern.
I think he'll be able to tell us better what is more important and what is less important for
Yeah.
him to be around for, and like what his capacities would
Yeah.
be for those. So I'm just saying, like, and I think it would be best right now, because I've been a little scatterbrained. If you think that's something you can organize with him. And I mean, I can definitely be there to be part of the conversation and to get him
Yeah.
onto Slack, because sometimes he just doesn't log on because it's not his usual method of communication.
Mhm.
Um,
And remind me again of
So-
Chris's background.
so he's had, I think, about 40 years of experience in user research, specifically, I think more than any other user research in medical technology, turning medical forms and medical processes into technology.
Okay.
But also, I think he worked with Nokia, and he's had some wide range of experience.
Okay.
So
That gives me the right framing then.
yeah,
So that helped me figure out how to engage. So what I'll do is, after we get off this call, I'll ping him. We were already pinged together on one of those threads. I'll ping him and give him a heads up for what we're thinking and ask for his feedback. And we'll try to figure out how we want to structure that.
yep, that sounds good. So all right, that is a good step one. And if there's more to discuss, I think we can discuss it offline. Does that work? Kate?
Could we include some of the 3 advocacy groups that helped test it when I was working with them before? Advocates from those advocacy groups. I think it's Reach, Dove, and possibly Harbor Cove.
Yeah, I mean, any advocates we have, well, any groups that would like to participate in the private beta.
Yeah, that's just because they were part of it from the beginning. It would be nice to include, they
Yeah,
put a lot into it.
make sure Kate has their contact
yeah.
info, and then we'll make sure that they overlap.
Okay.
Because I think we were going to draw from some groups that Laura might have, but Laura, I think, was planning to lean on Kate too.
Okay.
Yeah, Laura hasn't reached out to me too much on that yet, so I wasn't sure if there was anything I was supposed to be doing. I could certainly generally get in touch with Reach, Dove, and Harbor Cove, but if you have anyone in specific, Caroline.
Yeah, I'm tracking down the people that I had emails with to try and figure
Yeah,
out.
that would be helpful.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was Second Step, Reach, and I'm just finding this email now.
Okay, is this a
else?
conversation that can happen, kind of an organizing
Yeah.
call that can
I
happen?
think, yeah, we
another
can
time?
we can direct things to this sounds like a 2NIA
Yeah.
thread.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. So on the testing front, we've got, actually, let me do a thing before the testing front, the front of the testing. So there was at some point a plan to have language branches with changes in specific language files that would then be made into be given to Lance to be made into PRs, right? Now that was a while ago before the Stitch Up branch. Whatever happened to those? What is the plan right now? Like, what's going on in that sphere?
Your questions are my questions. There hasn't been any.
I'm asking other people. I have asked Lance,
Yeah,
and he doesn't know right
you
now.
know that, right? Yeah.
Yes. So Lance isn't currently doesn't currently have the information about what is the next step with those, whether they were ever merged in, whether the language changes are still relevant, right? So we need an understanding of what happened with those.
Were there pull requests?
I don't know.
I think they're in issues.
Pull requests.
I think there's some that are in issues. Some of them I've incorporated into the last 2 pull requests I did after talking to Kate and some of the groups. I haven't done I have a list of things in a Google Docs, but I was going to do them as I move through because I think it's important you need to get the questions going in the right order before you can start messing around with the language.
So those previous language edits either didn't happen, are you saying that either they didn't happen or they are outdated now? Is that
I don't
what
think that's what Caroline's saying. I think she's saying she used them as a reference when she was making language changes.
Right, but the actual edits are
There's,
no longer,
there,
they're no longer going to be pulled in as PRs.
no, I think they
on
will.
branches.
Yeah, I think they will be pulled in. They're just not there yet. I think there's some in the issues. I think there's some like
So
edit
the issues isn't like,
pullable.
are you seeing descriptions of them in the issues?
No,
Because
I think there's. I
there's
think it's
no
a combination. I haven't read all the issues, but when I was looking through some of the issues, it looked like some of them are.
issues, right, issues don't contain new files. So
No,
I'm
no,
trying to
I know. Yeah, I know.
understand.
So I don't think there are any files that I know of.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
one of the main questions.
And when
Okay.
you say files, you mean, I don't really know what you mean by.
I mean, someone will have changed a file, maybe
Oh,
made a
oh,
new
I see
branch
what you're
for
saying.
it,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
will have pushed
right.
it onto the
Gotcha.
repository
Yeah, yeah.
and, right?
No, I didn't understand what you meant. No, I
Okay.
understand what you're saying now. Yeah, I
So
don't
there
think.
are no, so if there are branches that have language changes, should those be closed for now and retired, and new ones will be made, new branches will be made with new changes?
So this is what I think the process is for the 209A, and it started after we'd already done some review of the standalone forms. Caroline and I are basically working in parallel to improve the package as a whole interview, and that involves changing a lot of questions, commenting some out that are asked now, certainly changing the order. So, and Caroline's point was the order is part of the question making sense, right? So if you change the order of questions, the language change that you might make if it's a different order isn't right.
Yeah, that totally makes
I
sense.
think we need to do a new review of language once we've done that.
Got
I
it.
think it'll be a lot easier because Caroline's already doing a lot of that work where there was like a placeholder.
Okay.
But I found those very useful where I was like, I'm going to look at something. I know this needs to change and at least have a better placeholder. And the review that we'd already done on the standalone form was helpful. I could copy that in, but I couldn't merge it because the question wasn't the same. The file wasn't the same.
That is, yeah, that's
So
the
I
kind
think,
of stuff I'm asking. Thank
yeah,
you.
I think, yes, we should close any open branches that were before we started merging the files because they won't be very easy to merge. And they may or may not be relevant. They might be completely about a different.
Do you want me to delete the branches?
I think deleting them is a great idea. Yeah.
Okay.
But it was very helpful, and Lance, it definitely was really appreciated to have all of that work done because even if we were doing some things in parallel, 80% of it at least was able to be put right in there. So.
Are you sure you want to delete them? Because that might be the only place that some of those language suggestions are. I don't know about those. Do you know how many branches we have with those? Because I know they started with the branch name started with language.
No, they didn't. People didn't consistently do that.
Or it might be worth reviewing them before deleting them. I mean, we could close them without deleting them, and then we could still look at them and see.
I meant deleting. There isn't such a thing as closing. They're just going to be on the repository until we delete them. They don't have PRs open, so they don't interfere with that.
All right. I don't mind going through those later, and I can't do it before Thursday or Friday, but I don't mind going through them later in the week and trying to figure out which we should keep and which we should delete. I just worry that it's really time consuming to come up with language that's just right. And I'd hate to have that be the place and then have to think, oh, somebody formulated this perfectly. I don't want to lose it.
Sure. I mean, I think up to you and Quentin.
Okay.
No, it sounds good. And I think I had closed one of Lance's PRs and probably merged another one to address that exact question. So there's at least one pull request that Lance made that I closed because I couldn't merge directly, but I context over.
Well, other ones,
I'm not sure if there were other ones that were close to that.
He wasn't really able to do those because he didn't get a go ahead from anybody that said here's a language branch, so he didn't get any code to validate, and
okay,
there kind of wasn't a way to move forward with that process, and he had trying to like figure out what happened ever since.
Yeah, the only one I worked on was defendant information that I really worked on.
Yeah.
And Kate and Emily had given me the go ahead on that. And then that ran into a lot of the kind of question order issues that then triggered all this other review and restructuring everything. So that was really the only one I worked on, and I can't remember where I left it, but you know, I didn't do anything. Me, all I did was point out the issues. I didn't rewrite any language. So anything that I'm trying to put through, you know, other than maybe a comma here or a question mark there, there's nothing, you know, no language in there that can't be deleted. But I think that's already been taken care of.
Okay.
I think that was the one that you closed and or merged or that you fixed somehow.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think there may be branches left over that people just made because we showed a few people how to make branches, and so I think they made branches and possibly made language edits. I don't know if they used them.
It's possible. Yeah.
So I'm not sure where they're at. But okay, so we've got a picture of that. If and when Lance needs to be redeployed, I think let's, you know, communicate about that, and we can.
Does it make sense to try to divide up the rest of the language? Because we only really got through 2 of the 8 forms, right, Caroline, so far? And not quite language in all of them. Should we
No, we haven't done.
parallelize that?
I think those are the most complicated ones. I think we can go. I mean, I can do it. It's just that I've been spending time on the coding because
I think we need you on the flow right now because
Yeah.
we need to get those tests moving.
Well, I've got that thing with John tonight.
Exactly.
But I think I can do the language, you know, the rest
So-
during the rest of the week. It's very most of it's pretty easy. There's some specific questions that we need SME consultation on.
Well, I do think that we should always, like as a practice, have a second set of SMEIs after language has been changed, just to make sure that the legal substance hasn't been altered too much.
Is it possible that we could have this running in parallel while Caroline is working with Jonathan, and she could be the second set of eyes, or just because if we have people, I mean, maybe we don't have people to put towards this, but if we have people to put towards this, we can work in parallel.
Well, I think if
Caroline's if someone can organize it,
I think the second set of eyes shouldn't be the person writing the language.
Right.
It's hard to not get tunnel vision.
That's what I'm saying, though. I'm saying that Caroline would not be the first set of eyes.
I think it would be the other way. I think I should do it and then send it to the SMEs. I should do it first and then send it to SMEs for approval.
Right, because Caroline's going to be the best at the language out of everyone.
Okay.
So I think that makes the most sense.
Because we need to make sure it's accurate and not corrupting legal meaning.
Okay.
And also the nuances sometimes are important.
This is my main priority too. So I think, Caroline, if there are things that you wanted to restructure, it might be more efficient for you to flag them for me to do.
Yeah.
And then you can focus just on the language and you just can identify issues.
Yeah.
Flag them for me, I'll do the flow change.
Right.
Have a good sense of how it fits into the whole.
Perfectly. And I think I think there's some little issues I was telling you this morning that I've written up that I'll put into the issues. The 2 that I worked on, I think they're the most complicated out of that one and you did the affidavit support. Sorry. You know, you did that one. That's the most complicated. Then the other 2 pieces I did are complicated. The rest of it is really straightforward. So, and easy to describe the issue. So I think we're good with that.
And how about, Caroline, if there's like a big portion that you think is like the language is really ready for SME review.
Yeah.
If you like tag me or something, I'll get an SME to give it the last set of stuff.
And I think there are there's a couple of little pieces like that visitation piece. I think there's one we want to talk about ex parte hearings. That's the next thing I think we need language about. And then Quentin and I stumbled on something this morning that I checked with Jeff Wolf and Katie Milton, but I think we want to run by you guys again.
Was this the need want?
No, the need want I sent to Laura to talk to Jeff Wolf about, because actually they read the guidelines and the guidelines say if you need the order. So I'm going to let them.
I think she's fine with need. I talked to her about it too.
No, this is if you're adopted, what box do you, not if you're adopted, but if the
So
abuse.
let's actually leave these conversations
Yeah.
for a specific SME
Yeah.
conversation.
So anyway,
That
Kate,
sounds
that's the
awesome.
kind of thing I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a plan for that. And like which one of you is owning the process of getting that through, like keeping track of where that is?
I'll do the language and then send it to Kate when it's in clumps.
Okay, cool.
And then Kate, you tell me.
Yeah, does that?
That works. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But so when you've reviewed Caroline's language, then and it's ready, you think it's ready, then I'll do my PR stuff.
Okay.
Review and do the PR stuff. Michelle,
It might end up jumping over you, and unfortunately, Lance, if Quentin is in
story
on
of my life.
programming
No.
of it.
Yeah, I mean, if there are other issues, but you'll be running those in parallel, right, Caroline? You'll identify technical issues that Quentin has to resolve, or order issues, or that kind of thing. And then, but all that will then still go to Kate to review for legal.
Or to get someone to review.
Yeah, and so at that point, then it can come to me. I mean, I don't have to be involved either. If it's easier to go directly, if for Kate to do those PRs and have that reviewed, that can happen too. I mean, okay. I can write these tests that we talked about yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. And if it does come to you, then your step is to run it through a YAML validator, then make a PR.
Right.
And then one of us will check to make sure that it is running appropriate.
And run the test too, right? Or do I not need to do that? I mean, to review the language too, or do I not need to do that after the final SME?
The language review is up to Kate and them.
Okay.
And I would rather not do the GitHub stuff.
So whatever language I get, unless it's horrible, then I won't say anything.
So for example, Kate, you can communicate with Lance about whether he should look at the grammar and punctuation and correct those types of things. And then Lance can make the PR. And if you're talking about the manual tests, some of them you won't be able to run manual tests.
Right.
Don't run tests for now.
Okay.
When we figure out tests, well, we might add another step in the process where other people run the manual tests. But
so essentially, I will then take what Kate gives me, validate the YAML, and make the PR.
Right.
And if there's a breakdown in the YAML, who do I tell? Do I tell you? Do I tell Quentin? Do I tell?
You tell you. I think you can come to the code channel and tell us in the code channel, and possibly it might help if you make a GitHub issue for it.
Yeah. Okay.
Write a report if you want, or you can, that kind of path.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can do that. It's just going to be the YAML generator doesn't tell me, or I should say, or the validator doesn't. I don't know enough about the YAML to know how to read these codes, so it'll just really be pasting that error message in. Yeah,
and we can talk more in detail about the process later if we need to.
Okay, and the code channel is the just a straight up assembly line 209A.
209A code.
Oh, I don't think I'm in that one.
Assembly line code, not assembly line 209A.
Oh, okay, I'm not in that one. So.
Okay.
Do I have to?
Hop on? Yeah.
I can jump in. Okay.
Yeah, you can join it. You can click on, search for it and join it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And we have 3 minutes of the half hour. The testers are working on, we're writing scenarios for which we need SMEs, and we're working with Kate to get SMEs. And we're, sorry, I said that wrong. Caroline and John are going to write the flow of the entire interview. In the meantime, we're going to get a little help from Kate and maybe other SMEs to write a few scenarios for the tests that I have isolated individually that seem to me in the code to be pretty isolated from other tests. And that will at least test the PDF a little bit and what's going on with the PDF, though for that we need to know that the latest PDF has been merged in, because then otherwise we're testing an outdated PDF, which isn't useful, as it isn't as useful. We'll still be looking out for errors, but that's, you know. So Quentin, is that something you think will be done today, or do you think that's going to take another couple days, or do you want someone else taking a look at those, or?
To do what exactly? What are you?
To merge in the newer PDFs.
Those are already all merged.
Okay, there were two other branches the last time I looked, so I've been gone for half an hour, so maybe.
No, Maeve did them the other day, didn't she? And they're all merged.
She made PRs.
No, she made the pull request. I hadn't merged all of them until this morning, but there are no open
be merged?
pull requests. So,
okay, that's great.
Yeah, so, actually, I deleted some branches that I knew I could delete too, because I could see part of the problem was a lot of branches. So.
Yeah. So, all right, and let me think what other words I had in my head. And so we'll start doing those tests, and then when we can meet up with John and Caroline, we will start mapping out what really can be tested more independently, and where we're going to need to create integration tests, and what we will iterate on for those kind of whole interview tests. Who has what other things do we have? Please raise your hand if this is my way of doing things. Please raise your hand if you have an item you'd like to discuss. Maeve has an item. Go, Maeve.
Can we schedule that housing TRO? I just want to find out. It's going to be Quentin, David, I think Michelle and myself. If we can just maybe, I'll talk in the channel just about who's available, when, what are people's availability like. I think we probably need just an hour to wrap up the kind, or maybe make sure that it's all ready to go. So I'll just reach out in the channel about that, and then we'll just wait. Maybe also an update on if there's anything from the court, David.
We're passing papers back and forth. Some of them have been edited. There's been a longer pause between the last pass than usual, so I actually had to do a
nudge.
As per my below email. Can you?
there is another meeting with the Chief Justice on Thursday, where everyone's going to be there. So I reminded them of that. Now it would be great if we had positive motion forward to report at that meeting.
Nice.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Good. Thank you, Dave. Anyone? Okay, Kate.
Quentin, did you need anything else with that other impoundment form?
I just put in better language, but I know that it hadn't been validated by an SME. So, okay. Oh, I see what you mean. Sorry.
The filing of impounded, the new impoundment form.
I think we should include that. Yeah, we haven't done anything with it yet. So someone needs to. If you need
anything from me, I think it's an idiosyncratic thing of a few courts to require it in 209As, but I've done that form a lot in other contexts. So if you need anything, I can answer those questions. There was also apparently yet another form that a particular court made an advocate fill out, but it was like I don't think it's necessary.
Do you think also if somebody were pro se asking for a restraining order, they wouldn't ask them to fill that out? You don't know.
It was like a weird form that was extremely duplicative. Like it was like a photocopy from like what looked like the 90s of information that was very repetitive of the plaintiff and defendant confidential information form, essentially authorizing carries to be run. And I think that's just an idiosyncratic thing of one particular court. It was like a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. So I think if a court wants that, they'll find a way to get it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That sounds terrifying.
But just in case that you do want to happen to do that form. But
I mean, the other thing is, if you think about it, this project might be moving the courts forward, because once they they might get used to this, and then that would mean that then they would not require you know, it might just change court practice.
Right, they're not gonna go rogue and require some other,
Well, it's going to make it
duplicative.
harder for
So-
them. I think that's the thing. It'll make it harder for them.
right.
So, okay.
Yeah, during emergency cases, why would you do that? And then they'll get used to it, and then
So I
somebody
have
will
a quick,
retire. And
yeah. So I have a quick follow-up question for Kate, which is this going to affect the scenarios we're writing for the impoundment, or is this a totally separate thing? Okay, separate.
It's a separate form. It's like a form that really doesn't require any more questions. I think it can be filled out from the information.
Okay,
And it's filled out like
Very
the
good.
same way in every single case.
very good. Okay, so all right, thank you. I'm very conscious of everyone's time, as Maeve would say. Yes, David.
So I would just like to sort of highlight that I think that basically at the close of this week, we'll be moving into phase 2.
Wow.
Okay, so even if, and Quentin and I talked about this today, even if for some reason the court hasn't signed the MOU, by the end of this week, we hope to have the private beta ready, which is really that was the trigger, was having the 209A packet to some being used by people. And so, and we have the approval basically for the TRO ready to go. So even if we didn't have an MOU signed by the end of this week, we would have met all the things that we need to do before we can move into phase 2. So I want people to start, yeah, it's very exciting. It would be much more exciting if phase 2 definitely came with launch, but it's going to come with launch of at least the private beta, which means it'll be helping people, which is the real goal here. So what I want people to think about is, as we move into phase 2, I want to make sure that everyone's being reasonable and, you know, not working 80-hour weeks or something, and basically we can cool things down and be like, okay, let's just do this in a systematic way that's going to put out product.
When that happens, I would love to like sit down, have like this is the state of the project. These are the irons we have in the oven. These are the resources we have, and this is how we're going to prioritize.
Yeah, I think maybe what we should do, what do you think about this idea? What if we called next Monday's stand-up then an all-hands meeting? And even if people can't make it, we'll be sure to give them the recording, and we'll make sure that that is part of the discussion and the framing for Monday.
I will say, I suspect if we invite everybody, it will get less business done than if we just have us.
Right.
So,
I guess the question is the goal of the
I think we should have an
disseminate
all-hands
information
meeting.
or to, yeah.
Right. I think we should. I think after we do the assessment, I think there should be an all-hands meeting, but it might be better after we've done an assessment and gotten an understanding of our.
Okay, you want to, okay, I see. So you want to have a meeting to make sure everyone's, so maybe
to make sure that we understand what we can tell everyone.
Okay, so sort of like a management meeting to understand, to get everyone they're on the same page, and then turn that into an all-hands meeting to disseminate that information.
Yep.
I think that sounds good. So let's not declare an all-hands meeting yet, but we will have Monday in our stand-up. We will try to make time to revisit and feel where we're all at. Okay,
that might be a bit of a longer one, and maybe we'll get out Plectica or some Trello or some noise like that. I'm a visual person, so, or maybe I'll just make one for myself.
Sounds good, but we can start thinking about it. That's the point, is start thinking about what you want your phase 2 relationship to be. Yeah, I like that. Thank you, David, sorry. All right, yes. Other concerns or other items to be brought up at the moment? Please indicate in some way, like wink or blink or. I'm just joking. All right, it looks like we are covered for today. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, so in the meantime, good luck and Godspeed, I suppose. And I like it.
It
right.
was nice seeing everybody.
Take care,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Take
Bye.
care.
Take care.
Bye.